today we're going to be working on the 2009 Dodge Ram. We're going to be putting on a set of rear leaf spring helper airbags. All right, so I got everything wrapped up. I'm outside the vehicle right now. Got my lovely assistant in the truck. She's going to go ahead and demonstrate how the works for you. Take it away, Sammy.
Come on in.
Okay, all right. Coming in. What do we got?
We got the air compressor. It's already on.
Okay.
So, you know.
Why don't you
There's
fiddle with
that.
it? Yeah, boy. Okay. What do you got under there?
This is what makes the bags go up and down.
All
Going
right.
up.
All right, going up. Okay, take us all the way down so I can show them.
Going down.
Take it all the way to 0.
Bags to 0.
Bags to 0, boy. All right. Now watch this. Look at that. You can see it raise and you can hear it creaking. Air compressor just kicked on. How many PSI are we at?
68.
Take us to 75. Hold it. One steady motion. Get us
We're there.
Get us to 100. Take us to 100. Yeah, boy. All right, drop us down. Yeah. So the set that I went with is found on Amazon. It's from this company called MaxpeedingRods. This is for a 2009 Dodge Ram 2500, and the kit ran me about 190 bucks. I've spent 190 bucks on worse, I can guarantee you that. So I didn't go name brand. I decided to go with one of these off-brand companies and give that a shot. I don't know how long I'm going to keep the truck or how long I'm going to need this towing configuration, so I figured, what the hell. Anyways, right off the bat, I noticed that when I got the kit, the hardware was messed up. I didn't have enough of these black bolts. These bolts are what held the airbag to these brackets, and then they also hold the brackets to the old bump stops. So you got to take these old bump stops off. There's 2 bolts in here, and you got to remove those bump stops, and that's what holds that bracket on. And I didn't have enough of these bolts, so I had 2, 4, 6, 8. I needed like 12. Luckily, I happened to have some of these bolts laying around from the 4500 hot shot bed that I built, and they happen to be the same thread pitch, the same Allen size, same head diameter, not a button, but it's more of a cap, and slightly longer, but that didn't matter. Another thing I'd recommend when putting it together, because there's no lock mechanism on here to hold that bolt in, so over time that would vibrate. I would recommend putting on some thread lock on this before you put it on. And real quick, I realized that I put this one on incorrectly, so I'll show you, because the directions are pretty unclear as far as the assembly goes of this setup. It's pretty clear about how to mount it onto the truck, but it's a little hazy on how to put this together. So I'll go ahead and show you. I'll take this apart, show you kind of how this bucket can goes on, talk about the fitting, talk about the nuts and bolts and the direction of the plates and all that, and that should help you kind of get through with your setup. But yeah, again, real quick, so it comes with the airline, 1/4-inch airline. I did add more airline because the kit comes set up so that you would run your 2 airbags and 2 lines out the back to your bumper, and then you would run an air chuck to either side, so you could tilt your up and down, and then also compensate for your fuel tank or any additional weight that you might have dispersed unevenly in the bed. I'm not going to do that, but here's those fittings that it would have come with, or that you would use, and then you'd use this airline. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run, since I have an air compressor in the truck, I've got an air tank already. I'm going to install a paddle switch inside the cab. I'm going to tee off of the line. So I'm going to run one line, T, then that line's going to continue, then another Y that's going to split off into either bag. The reason I'm teeing it is because I want this sensor to be able to tell me on the gauge that I've got how much air is in the bags. And I'm going to run the bags equally. And I think I've ran it on another truck just that same way, and I didn't have a problem with it. I know that the fuel tank on this truck runs along the frame rails, but like, I don't know. I think I'm going to be fine. I don't think I'm going to have an issue with that dispersion. But if I do, I can always just delete that one T-fitting, run another line, and have individually inflated bags per side. But anyways, I'm going to set you up on the tripod. I'll show you how this bag assembly goes together. Okay, so I'm going to pop this bracket off. I've already put all these nuts and bolts in the bracket just for ease of install once that time comes. And these are already cranked down and Loctited because I forgot to put this bucket deal on here. But I'll show you kind of how this goes together. Yeah, the directions aren't super clear. I even had a little bit of an issue. Man, that Loctite sets up fast. I just put that together like 5 minutes ago. But I do think that Loctite is a very important part, that there is no mention of a torque setting or Loctite in the instructions. The instructions are very vague. So you definitely don't want your bag separating from your brackets. And this is a suspension component, so it sees tons of vibration over its lifespan. And I wouldn't use, I don't know, I'd use a medium red, like a medium Loctite. I don't think, because the bolts are good, they're encapsulated in these brackets, but they will come loose over time, I guarantee it. Okay, so here's the top of your airbag, and it'll come with 2 of these plates per side. The plate that has the small cutout goes on the bag. Put these 2 bolts in with Loctite, crank them down. This air fitting does not come installed, so that'll take a 12mm wrench. It has an O-ring on it, but I still would recommend putting a little Teflon tape around the threads because you don't want to have any leaks. The O-ring might be sufficient, but the Teflon just adds a little extra insurance, and you can see that that's seated down super tight, so I know that O-ring is still engaging. Then on the bottom of the bag, you've got this bracket, right? So picture this bracket without all these nuts and bolts coming off of it. Just this top one here, right? With this flange. Don't worry about this stuff right now. Although, you do need to put these on first. Put these carriage bolts in here first, otherwise you can't get them on after the fact. So, these tabs that have the holes go on the bracket facing down, or on the bag facing away from the top plate. So like that. And then these tabs are going to be opposite of the air fitting. So my air fitting is on this side, so these are going to be opposite of it. And the bolts are going to go through these 2 elongated holes so that you have some adjustability, and it'll look just like that. So again, like I said, get some Loctite on here. My Loctite's almost gone. Okay. So I've got that bolt set in the bracket. Got the bracket oriented correctly. I'm going to start that in that hole. Oh, the whole reason I took this apart is because I almost forgot to put the bucket on again. So this bucket has a hole for the fitting. All 4 of them do. It doesn't matter on this bucket which way that hole goes because there is no fitting. So you just want to make sure that these 2 holes are lined up. And then feed your, and yeah, you can't put it on this way. It won't work. So you got to put it down this way. And then go ahead and thread your screw in there, your bolt. Okay, and then your next one. Lock tight. Put it in that hole. And it didn't come with an Allen wrench either. I believe it's a 1/4 inch. But again, you're going to have to get more hardware, I guarantee it. There was even a couple reviews on the listing that showed that the hardware pack was as if somebody just grabbed a handful of different hardware, because a bunch of hardware came with it that you don't even use. There was some countersunk Allen head screws that there's no place on this to even use those. So just fair warning, be prepared to have to buy, at a minimum, you're going to have to buy more of these. And I'm not sure the size of that bolt, but once you get the kit, definitely before you start tearing into your truck, take the pack apart, and like I did here, mock everything up and put the pieces and parts together to make sure you have all the right stuff. So under the truck, this bolt here is going to wrap around your leaf spring perch. So envision that this is the passenger side of the truck. The leaf spring is going to be on this side. So now you're looking at me from the front of the truck looking towards the bed. Leaf spring's over here. This is going to wrap around that perch. This is going to wrap around your axle tube. And this is going to bolt up against that upper bump stop. And this bracket is the one that bolts to the bump stop. So this will be bolted onto the truck separately, which I'm going to do right now. You're going to use 2 of those same stainless screws with thread lock. Bolt this where that bump stop used to be. Then you're going to bolt the airbag to that bracket with the supplied hardware. And I did have enough hardware. Bolt, washer, and lock the nylock nut. You're going to bolt this bag in place. So we are able to put this whole assembly together just like this. Although I will need to take this off and take this off. I just didn't want to lose the nuts and bolts. This will set in on top of the axle, and then you bolt everything together once this bracket is installed. But I'm going to go ahead and take you under the truck, and we'll get this bracket installed in preparation to receive the airbag. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this install without removing the tires. So I'm just jacking this up. The reason I have it so angled is because as it comes up, it's going to straighten that out. So I'm going to jack this up, and that's going to separate the truck frame from the axle housing, which is going to give us a lot more room in here to get that bump stop removed and get that bag put in. So the bag is going to go right here. So we got to get that bump stop taken off of there. Next one. Probably have to put some weight back down on the truck because right now this bolt hole is lined up with this leaf spring, and instead of pulling on the bag and fighting it, I'm just going to lower the truck a little bit. Definitely just going to work them a little bit at a time, both sides. so that this U-bolt goes on evenly. And then I'll work the leaf spring U-bolt so it pulls the bag over towards that leaf spring perch. Yeah, I'm already out of socket. I gotta get a deep well. All right. Putting these bags on is really easy so far. Okay, that's starting to snug up already. So remember that tab I showed you that goes in between the U-bolt on the leaf spring? Make sure that's in place and start tightening up that U-bolt. So that's what that's supposed to look like. I got the bracket all flushed out, sandwiched together. The airbag, I might be honest, if this isn't plumb, which it looks like this could go over a little bit, I could loosen these bolts underneath that attach the bracket to the airbag, scoot the airbag over because those holes were elongated, and line that up and then tighten them down again. I might go ahead and do that. Okay, now you can see that everything is aligned nice and straight. I went ahead and scooted that bag over. So now we're right in line with the frame, getting the best support we can. So the passenger side is going to be the exact same with the addition of the exhaust in the way, and we have to put a little heat shrink, or I'm sorry, not a heat shrink. Kit comes with this, but I'm going to go ahead and do like a header wrap because this looks real janky under there. This is to protect the airbag from heat from the exhaust, but I'm going to get some of that header wrap stuff. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this passenger airbag on, so sit back, watch me do that, and then we'll start with routing the lines. Airbag number 2 installed, same way as the first. For the air lines, I just connected to the top of each airbag, ran the line from the other side, brought them both over to this frame rail. That's the line coming across. I use this cross member to zip tie it to and to keep it away from the heat of this muffler, and then they both go together. This line here, that dirtier one, that's for the air chuck that I have installed in my rear bumper, so that's separate. I did that at a different time. And then they both go above that stop, that frame mount. And then right here in the back of the tank, that is air line going out of the tank into the truck under my seat. Or no, I'm sorry, out of the tank into the truck, under the seat, out from under the seat, under these rocker guards, under this rocker guard, under the carpet, under the dash, to the back of that switch right there that I installed. And there's 2 lines that go to that switch. That black one from the back of the tank right there, and then underneath here I had some other ones too that come from underneath the truck. So, and I have them kind of zip tied out of the way, but it's basically just a Y fitting with that T fitting and the gauge plug that looks similar to this one. This is my air pressure gauge for the air tank. There's another one on these lines up here for the 2 airbags. But you can see that air line running next to that shock right there, which is totally fine. You can see the other one above on that cross member. But so yeah, that's how I did the airlines on that. I didn't want to film that because it was a huge pain in the butt and I was getting dirt in my mouth. I was grunting and groaning a bunch, and just not very easy to even get the camera up in there and stuff like that. But all right, so trailer's loaded up. We're cruising down the road right now, and I've been playing with how much air is in the bags. But I'll flip you around and I'll show you in real time as I'm hitting bumps how the airbag on the gauge, how the gauge fluctuates from the pressure of the trailer bouncing up and down on the airbags. I can tell that the truck's a lot more stable with like 70 pounds of air in the bags. At 0, it's bouncing around a lot. And I'll show you a clip of the truck empty, the airbag's empty, and then I'll show you a clip of me filling it up and the airbag's full, and kind of what it does with the pitch of the trailer and how that all looks. Okay, so here's the gauge. Here's my switch for my compressor. It's already on. It's got a pressure switch, so it's up to pressure, and it doesn't need to pump right now, but it will here in a minute. And then I've got my paddle switch underneath here, and that's for filling and dumping the airbags. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these up. You'll hear the compressor kick on here in a minute. So now the bags are at 75. I was gonna do individual gauges for left and right, but I realized the system, the way I have it plumbed, will just neutralize into from the left to the right. They'll equalize on their own. So both gauges will always read the same number. So I went ahead and just ran one gauge to tell me that number instead of 2. So now I have an extra spot for something else. But anyways, I would say all in all that this kit is definitely worth the money. It's about half the price of any of the other name brand 5,000 pound airbags for this truck. So I would definitely recommend this kit. Aside from that small little issue with the hardware, which I had them laying around, but it only would have cost me, another $5 for a couple bolts. What else did I do? I used wire loom and wrapped all of those hoses. So to protect those a little bit more, I added another 20 feet of hose. That cost like $10 or whatever. So, and oh, my paddle switch was another $15. But you don't have to do all that. The kit comes ready to be installed. You just would have to probably get a couple pieces of hardware. And then you'd have your chuck at the back of your bumper that you would just use an air compressor to fill up and deflate that way. But man, I hauled that trailer with it. I took my truck over to the scale. The truck and trailer combo is 19,940, so 19,940 pounds. And having these airbags inflated at like 70 psi or 80 psi really helped with the trailer not buckling where it connects to the truck, right? So the truck and the trailer wouldn't be like going opposite one another. It just keeps everything nice and flat and straight. So the suspension on the trailer does what it's supposed to do, and the suspension on the truck's doing what it's supposed to do. And I don't have any squat in the rear end, and it feels a lot more stable. Plus it's adjustable, so if I'm noticing that the road's a little bit more bumpy, I could either let out air or add a little bit more air on the fly right from the cab of the truck. And then I've got that real-time gauge in there that's telling me you know, if I at a complete stop fill them up to 70, and then as I'm driving they're peaking at 80 because I'm getting so much weight on there, maybe I can adjust them a little bit more. But anyways, I hope this was helpful. And this install is probably similar to, I noticed that this kit's very similar to the other name brands, so I bet the install would be really similar. But if you want more of an in-depth video of how I did my paddle switch and how I did my gauge and how I did my rear plug and the back bumper for my air chuck, I'd be happy to make another video of that, just doing a walkthrough, kind of showing you how all that went together and things like that. But if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing more videos, just random videos like this of things that I'm working on with my truck or my house, or you know, my dump truck or whatever. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could give me some support, and again, comment if you have any questions or would like to see any other videos made about anything that I did today or anything at all. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I appreciate you guys watching, sticking around this long, and hope to see you guys on the next ones.